You're good. Live.
Hey everybody, happy holiday if you celebrate it. Um, why did I fail at quitting drinking? I could never get sober. There's lots of reasons that I thought about. I mean, maybe it was that I had the wrong perspective towards alcohol, or maybe it was I didn't commit myself enough to get sober. Or there's lots of different reasons. I know one thing for sure. When I quit drinking, I just envied those people that could drink without a problem. I envied them like crazy. There's was lots of reasons that I could point to as to why I continued to fail to quit drinking. And we're going to get into that. And it came down to one thing, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But I just couldn't find a way to quit drinking. I kept trying and trying. I'd try different things. I'd try to, limit my drinking, things like that. And I'd always go back to that amount that I was drinking before, that ridiculous amount that I was drinking. And I was never successful. It was really a painful spiral downhill until it all came crashing down on me. But I was able to get sober. And that was when I finally realized that one thing that I had to take care of to get sober. So, welcome to our Talk Sober Talk on this Thanksgiving. And how you doing, Marcus?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I can totally relate. I remember when I was trying to first get sober, nothing seemed to work, and even stuff that did seem to work was very short-lived. Like I would say to myself, okay, I'm going to stay sober for 3 weeks, and I'd do it, and I felt good, and everything was going good, and I didn't know why I always returned to drinking. Didn't make sense to me. It was like, your life's going good, everything seems happy, you seem to be feeling better, and your thought life is getting better. Why did you go back to drinking? And there wasn't a concrete, this is the reason, right? There was no, oh, well, I got a divorce that day, so I went to the bar. It wasn't, you lost your job that day, you went to the bar. It was just, I was at lunch and I ordered a drink. Didn't even think about it, just ordered a drink. And then a couple days later, I would find myself in the pit of, why am I in this place again? Why did I get so messed up? And what was it that caused it? Why can't I get out of this loop? And that was the big difficulty in understanding, like, why can't I get this? Why doesn't this make sense to me? Why can't I get sober? What is the deal? And that's what we're going to talk about today is, why is that? Why do you feel like you're at the end of the ropes? Why does it feel like nothing is working? Why do you keep failing at getting sober and staying sober for any meaningful point of time? And those are the difficult questions that I found myself wanting to know the answer to. Those were the difficult things that I was saying, am I a degenerate? Am I a failure? Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe I can't hold my liquor, or whatever it is. And until we found out the real reason people fail. And I don't know if Terry remembers, but when we were in rehab together, I was obsessed with relapse. I annoyed every counselor because I was like, okay, I'm paying out of pocket for this, so I'm going to get the most out of it. Right? I'm going to go ask all the questions. I'm going to do all, and I went to every counselor in that rehab and I said, what did you do to stop relapsing? How do you not relapse? That was the key. That was what I needed to know. And to this day, no one really gave me a satisfactory example or answer. There was little tidbits, but nothing was like, hey, this is it. But today, we're going to show you what is it, what the real reason is. So Terry, what are your thoughts on that? What was it like for you going through rehab? Was there a difference in where I was like, okay, I need to find out how to not relapse, because if I cannot relapse, then I stay sober. Bingo. Seems simple enough, right? What was it like for you?
Well, I tell you what, for me, relapse, it was kind of a vacation from alcohol. So it got taken out of my system. I think deep down, I kind of thought that, just getting it out of my system for the month that I was there, that was going to take care of it. And I did have to find, after I got out of rehab, I started drinking again. So did that take care of it? I don't think so. And in rehab, I remember they talked a lot about, we have to change the way we think. That I remember the one thing they said is the only thing you have to change is everything.
Yeah.
And I sure I agree with that. I had to change everything. It took me a while to learn what everything meant, and that meant everything in the way I think. It's not necessarily what I do. A lot of it is what I do, but it's not exactly like what I do. I can still go on bike rides. I can still go hiking. I can still do things. But some of those physical things that I had to not do anymore was, like go hang out in bars, go to parties, go hang out with my friends while they're drinking, things like that. That's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really the thought process that was important for me to change. But I didn't change a lot of that thought process, and that's because I didn't understand exactly what was making me fail.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it deep down inside, and that's what the problem was for me, is that I just didn't get that thing that made it click, that made me move in the right direction. A lot of the other sobriety programs and even AA, they talk about all these ways of life, the ways of life that we need to change. And I agree. There's definitely different things I need to do. I need to live in gratitude. And, I need to try to help other people. I need to live a positive life. I need to build this life that I don't have to run away from. That's important stuff.
Yeah.
But really, there's one reason why I kept failing, and that was the big thing that I just didn't realize, and that's why I kept failing.
Yeah. And I think it's difficult because, it's kind of the elephant in the room that no one wants to admit exists, because no one really wants to admit that alcohol for the alcoholic is as damaging as it is, because it doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, we understand certain things, but here's this guy over here that drinks normally that has no problem whatsoever. Why is the alcoholic the one with the brunt of the damage? Why is that? And the reason that I found above everything else that I kept returning to drinking, that I kept relapsing, that I couldn't stay sober for a meaningful time was the chemical dependency aspect, right? Take everything else out of the way. Family stuff, financial worries, life's a mess, health stuff. Take all that out of the way, and you have one person who is chemically dependent. And if you're fighting a chemical dependency, you are going to lose because it's chemically altering. And, it's interesting to me because there are certain things that doctors can do to certain people and get an effect whether that person wants it or not, right? If they give you sleeping stuff, you're going to go to sleep. That's what's going to happen. You can say, well, I'm tougher than those sleeping things. I'm better than this, or I just woke up. But at the end of the day, you are fighting a battle that you can't win because it's a chemical battle. And it's almost like my computer, right? We were late today because my computer was being slow starting up. I think it had to do with one of the startup programs, the Kaspersky or something like that, slowing it down. But if you take my computer, and this is a pretty robust computer. I got it for video editing, so it's got all the bells and whistles. It's fancy, and it even lights up very nicely, right? If I was to take that and say, you know what, I know this is a great computer, but I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to turn the power off. That computer is going to shut down. It doesn't matter that it's got the fancy processor, the fancy memory, the cool lights. It doesn't matter anything. It will not work without power. Or you look at it and you're like, hey, that's a pretty powerful machine. Let's get an eyedropper and put a drop of water on the processor. It's a powerful processor. It's got fans. You probably should dry it, but it's not going to work. That little introduction of one thing is going to make all bets off, and that computer's pretty much a big paperweight at that point. And when we start to understand that this is how our brain and our body works, certain things introduced affect people certain ways. For me, alcohol made me the alcoholic. If you never, and this is a debate people have, they say, oh, alcoholic was born an alcoholic. No, an alcoholic needs to drink to become an alcoholic. Otherwise, they're just a guy who eventually, if he figures out booze, might eventually get addicted. Maybe, okay? But you cannot Be an alcoholic without alcohol. I'm an alcoholic because of alcohol. Chemical. Can't fight it. Can't win. Gonna lose over and over and over again, no matter what I do, because the chemical wins every time. Like the computer. It ain't gonna do nothing if it ain't plugged in. It needs power to make it work. Now, when power works, it thing works great, right? And for us, when you have that chemical and you have that chemical dependency going on, all bets are off and you cannot fight it.
For me it was that's when I really turned the corner, was when I finally realized that I was chemically dependent,
Yeah.
and that when I had that drink, my mind was changed. I couldn't think correctly. I couldn't do the right thing to stay sober. The alcohol had me.
Yeah.
And then I would start to do anything I possibly could. It's interesting when I'm working with other alcoholics, especially the ones that relapse. A lot of the times, we try to, if they had just come back to getting sober and they're trying to get sober again, the first thing you try to do is try to figure out, well, what happened? Why did you start drinking again? And so many of them will say, they might have their external reasons. They had a loved one got sick or left them, or something big happened in their life. They lost their job, something like that. But if you really get down to why did you start drinking? They don't know why.
Yeah.
And it's because they're chemically dependent.
Mm.
And that's the way I was. I couldn't quit because I was chemically dependent. I needed the drink to stay normal, that's what it came down to.
Yeah. And that's, it's a difficult thing because you don't want to admit that it is something as simple as a chemical. Why? Because that chemical is socially acceptable. It's something that everybody does. We feel a certain way about it. And all this stuff is attached to it. But that doesn't matter. What matters is a chemically dependent person is chemically dependent, meaning that you feel like your life is dependent on a chemical. That's the definition of an alcoholic, continuing to drink despite negative consequences in your life. A lot of you guys will go to Thanksgiving. I remember many a Thanksgiving where I had negative consequences from drinking. Yet I kept drinking years and years and years later. And when I start to realize, are you telling me all I had to do was resolve that I'm not going to drink because I know what it does? Once that switch happened, it didn't matter. I was like, yeah, there's nothing worth drinking over because I know the bad effects. I know it will throw me into the chemical dependency loop, and I know that that's something I might not find my way out of. I probably won't. It was very difficult last time, right? Is my camera messing up?
Yeah, your camera's frozen, but we can still hear you.
Yep.
You're good. Anyways, I'll keep going.
No problem.
Trek said one of the toughest weeks to stay sober for me. Thanks for all your help, guys. And I would assume you're referring to it being a holiday week with Thanksgiving and all that. And, for me, the holidays, I wasn't such a big fan of the holidays when I was drinking, but that was because I had to drink less because I had to be around people. I had to drink less than what I wanted to drink. And that was just, different people have different reasons they don't like the holidays. And for me, it was kind of opposite as to what most people were. Most of the people didn't like the holidays because of all the family and all the drama, and then they end up getting too drunk or something like that. And for me, I wasn't able to get drunk enough. But yeah. So Adam says, how can you stop drinking? Life is too short. Just go to the gym. Yeah. Okay. I wish it was that easy. For me, I was an avid cyclist when I was drinking, and I continued to cycle and I continued to drink. So that didn't work so much for me. I had to change the way I was thinking. I had to change my thought process and start to think and start to realize that alcohol had me. I was chemically dependent on the alcohol, and I had to do whatever it was going to take to quit drinking. And that was an important thing. And you also say as long as you drink occasionally, it's totally fine. And For a person that's not chemically dependent on alcohol, sure, absolutely. I'd agree with you on that. But for me, I cannot drink occasionally. If I drink occasionally, it's going to become all the time and 24 hours a day. And that's the difference between somebody that's dependent and somebody that's not. You know, I mean, I have many good friends that just drink occasionally, and they're good with it. And that's probably actually the majority of society nowadays. So, yeah. Let's get to some of the other comments here. I'm going to go back a little bit. And, Jay had mentioned this one, and I'm going to put it down as a topic. I think it's a great topic. And he said, I would love to see the channels take on the void that some single alcoholics feel when they're sober and still feel unhappy because of the need for a significant other. You touched on that void recently, and I hear you. I was single as well when I was still drinking, and there was a void. And I don't know if drinking was a reason that I was trying to fill that void or not, but I continued to drink. And once again, that could have been one of those outlying reasons. But so a couple of the things that I had to do to get sober, and once I realized that I was chemically dependent on the alcohol, that was a kind of a breakthrough moment for me, where I started to realize that I'm chemically dependent. It's affecting the way I think. It's affecting the way I act. It's affecting me trying to get sober. But I had to start to do a lot of different things that I did not do previously when I tried to quit drinking. And one of the first ones was really committing 100% to trying to get sober, and that was really important for me. I had to put everything I had to into my getting sober. I had to make sobriety a top priority, because if I wasn't going to get sober, I wasn't going to stay sober. Hey, there's Marcus. And that was a real important thing for me. And so if you're trying to get sober and you just keep on failing, you got to do it. You got to put as much effort as you can. I don't have to put that effort in anymore, but in the beginning, I had to. I mean, drinking was my top priority before I stopped drinking. And then when I got sober, putting out all that effort, and I was able to get sober. And another thing I had to really think about, and this goes along with the fact that realizing that I'm chemically dependent, is my perception of alcohol. And just realizing that alcohol, it doesn't help. It's never helped me. Sure, it gives me that temporary feel-good moment. And that moment went away years before I stopped drinking, but it gave me that illusion. But actually, alcohol is just poison. We're putting poison in our body, and it doesn't help. And for some, they don't get any bad effects from it, and they're able to keep going, and that's great. But for me, that's just not the case at all. And I had mentioned this a little bit earlier. Was another thing that I had to get over was the fact that other people, these people that can drink without problems, that most of the people in the world can do that. I can't. And so I might as well just get over it and not envy them and see them enjoying this drink. I can enjoy a drink too. It just can't have alcohol in it. There's lots of good stuff that I can have that doesn't have alcohol, and I still enjoy myself on. And I'm able to drive. I'm able to wake up in the morning all fresh and ready to go. And, that stuff helps a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's another thing that I had to do. And, one person on here had also mentioned, and I think Scott or Trek or somebody had agreed, but they go the alkathons. And alkathon, in case any of you don't know, is something that they do at the AA meetings, and they'll have, at least the ones where I was living would have them, like on Thanksgiving Day, from morning until night. They'll have meetings every hour. And the one that they're doing down there, they have a Thanksgiving dinner at 3, and it's just a place to escape. A lot of times, we get these holidays here and we're with family, and maybe some people are drinking too much, or there's arguments or whatever. You need to get away, and you just don't feel like you can get away. And an alkathon is a good place for somebody that's trying to stay sober, at least maybe get away for an hour, or if they have nowhere to go, like you have that void in your life, you could spend your whole day there. And I've had a lot of people at the alkathons spend their entire days there, and they were able to enjoy their day. And um, as far as the alkathons go, I was kind of the chef of the area, so I cooked at all the alkathons, so I was there off and on throughout the day, all day as well, and
Yeah.
kind of helping the family too. So yeah,
Well, I think one of the things that we really need to understand is that this is about us, our alcoholism, our sanity, and our safety. Like, who cares what people think? I remember years ago, I was like, oh, well, I can't not go to Thanksgiving. Well, if you end up getting drunk and getting in fights and not feeling good, and then you end up on a binger, then maybe don't go to Thanksgiving. Stay home and watch movies or something. I don't know. You know, a lot of us have this social pressure that we need to drink, or we need to be this certain way, or we need to do this certain stuff. And the fact of the matter is we don't. We don't need to do all that. What we do need to do is focus on our sobriety, because that is number one. Without that, I have nothing. Without that, I'm back in anguish. I'm back in the life of not being able to run the show, not being able to be sane, back in the mental hospital. And once I understand, hey, wait a minute, this is what we're dealing with here, like, it's kind of a big deal, kind of the biggest deal. And I'm not going to let social norms get in the way of that. For years in my business, I didn't go to conventions and conferences because of the fact that I knew there was going to be drinking there, and I wasn't sure I was ready for it. And I waited till I was really, really, really ready. And the one I chose to go through to was ran by Mormons, and they don't drink, so it was pretty safe. Now, other people were drinking, but it wasn't like the raging party craziness that some of those conferences were. And so I made it the first priority to know that I can't be around alcohol. I can't have a slip up. I can't have a relapse. I need to focus on what works for me. And what works for
yeah,
me is not taking the first drink, not drinking, not needing it, everything like that.
yeah, absolutely. And for me, that's was the case as well. In fact, on this Thanksgiving today, my wife and I were invited to a friend's house. We have no family near us, and the weather is just not good for any family coming over to visit us or us to go to them. So we got invited to their house tonight, but we thought about it, and this actually, the reason we're not going is not because of alcohol, but it's a similar thought process. As far as the wife just had an appendectomy 3 days ago. The parents are living there, and they fight, and and we were invited just because they want us to have somewhere to go, and they're such nice people, but we don't want to put the pressure on. They got a full house, they've got plumbing problems, they got all this stuff going on, and we felt that it would be better that if we just kind of take it easy. And anyways, I'm gonna cook crab stuffed lobster for Thanksgiving. So
I'm coming over. That sounds good. If it wasn't 3,000 miles away, I probably would come over for that. But yeah, you start to realize that. I was thinking about that this morning. I was thinking about how people get so excited and bent out of shape, and excited in a bad way, about Thanksgiving. Like, it's this big stressful thing, and I got to make this, and I got to do. You don't got to do nothing.
yeah,
You literally don't have to do anything. There's no one to impress. There's nothing. I mean, for what? People get drunk over this? Just make your turkey. And I found out, actually, not stressing and not drinking, I'm a way better cook than I used to be.
yeah,
Like last night we were sitting there and we had a late lunch, and I'm like, I want to make shrimp. And so I made some shrimp and grits, and I never made this certain type before, and it came out pretty damn good. And I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. Don't got to stress about it.
shrimp and grits. You are a Southerner now, aren't you?
I had, so we went to Atlanta, and I had shrimp and grit cakes.
Oh, okay, yeah,
And
yeah.
I was able to make a grit cake, but it's the first one I ever made. So I was like, okay, I could do better. but it was actually pretty good. It was all right. I was trying to recreate that meal I had, but it's nice to not have to have this unneeded pressure of, oh my gosh, I screwed something up, or it didn't come out the way I want, or life's not behaving the way I think it should. And just to be
Right.
like, hey, I'm just a part of life. I'm on this journey. I'm not driving the world. If we did, we'd all be in trouble. I can't go in a little circle around the sun every year. I'd be off there over by something else. You guys would be like, where are we? Where's there no sun? Oh, Marcus is driving the earth again, and he's pretty messed up, right? But I understand now. I'm just a traveler. I'm okay. And Alexander says, I'm still struggling to become clean and sober again for a long period. I've been sober 23 years, and now I feel like I'm drinking myself to death. Well, we need to look at that and say, well, what did you do for 23 years? What was it that worked?
Yeah.
A lot of people in sobriety, they would say, well, you're on day one again. Those 23 years don't matter. No, those 23 years do matter.
Sure.
Why? Because life is about data. Data is I drink, I get drunk, I'm an alcoholic, I can't stop. That's the data. The data has said that to me thousands of times, over and over. Boom, here it is. Data, 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 data. And if you make decisions based on the facts and the data, right? For 23 years, you did something that worked. For 8 years, I've done something that worked. For 8 years, Terry did something that worked. What was it? Never picking up a freaking drink. That's what works. I guarantee you, with the exception of one medical condition, which makes you feel like you're drunk when you actually aren't drinking, with the exception of that, which is very rare, you can't get drunk if you don't drink. It's impossible. So in those 23 years, what you did is not drink. So put it down, go to the doctor, detox, and then make a resolve not to drink again because the data says drinking doesn't work.
Right.
Forget about I'm a failure, I'm this, I'm that. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the data says that you can't drink without drinking alcoholically. That's what the data told me. Plain as the nose on my face. There it is. Right then, right there. Boom. And I love that because now problem solved. Now I know the problem. It's not go to therapy and deal with this. That might be a good thing, but that's not why I drank. It's not, oh, your blood sugar. That was a problem, but that's not it. If that was a problem, I could have Dr. Pepper. My uncle has Dr. Pepper like to going out of style. His blood sugar is probably too high. And he's not an alcoholic. So I have to look at that and say, wow, this is the most freeing thing in the world. Because now I know that my problem of alcoholism stems from alcohol. Take out the alcohol, all the alcohol problems are gone. Now I'm left with other problems, sure, but not the alcohol problem.
Yeah, it is that simple. It's just not taking that drink. Absolutely. Yeah. But and like Marcus said, you need to do something drastic to get stopped, and that level of commitment. How much do you want to commit? For me, I had to commit all the way, 100%.
Absolutely.
To put everything into getting sober. And then once I got sober, I had to realize I cannot take a drink no matter what. That's the main thing.
Yep.
After that, I'm able to start working on those other things in life. Like, so you didn't drink for 23 years. You know what you did that was working. Maybe those last couple of years, you stopped doing something that you were doing that was keeping you sober, and you slowly started to slip the wrong direction. You can start to look at that stuff. But you got to get it out of your system, and you got to realize that you can't drink no matter what, and then you can start working on that other stuff.
Yeah.
That other stuff that may have kind of steered you in the wrong direction. It made you make that bad decision to take that drink or whatever you've been doing. Yeah. So, yeah.
Adham says, how can you stop drinking? Life is too short. Just go to the gym. As long as you drink occasionally, it's totally fine. Living without a beer and good music is very depressing. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. The first question is, why are you watching a video about quitting drinking if you don't want to quit drinking? I don't know. I just, to each his own. But what I would unpack there is one, when he says, how can you stop drinking? That's where I was. how am I ever going to stop drinking? Life is going to suck without alcohol. I didn't realize that that was a lie that alcohol told me. Now, are there plenty of people that can drink and be fine? Of course there are. Are there plenty of people who drink occasionally? Sure. Are there alcoholics who can't stop once they started? Yeah, there are. Is it okay for them to drink occasionally? Well, that's up to you to decide. For me, it's not. And it's not worth it. Is it really worth the risk? Like, look at how we're looking at our life. It's depressing. Life is depressing without beer and good music. Okay, well, one, no, it's not. You just think it is. So was life depressing until you were 21? Like, are all the kids go, oh man, this sucks. Life is terrible. I can't skateboard, can't have fun. What about people who physically can't listen to music? That is sad, but is it completely depressing? No. These are rules and limits that we put on ourselves. We say, oh, well, it's fun to go drink. Okay, well, maybe not. It wasn't fun for me. Couple of times, maybe. But I look at it now and I'm alcoholically, it's not fun. It's not depressing that I can't have it. I'm not sitting there wanting it. And we start to understand, wait a minute, are you telling me that half of my quitting drinking is social pressure and things that people said? It's like wine, right? Terry's a chef. He'll back me up on this or tell me if I'm wrong. There has been blind taste tests of wine where they take the guys in the suits, the guys with the pinky out and the fancy ways of, oh, yes, this is the finest wine, and they're high society people. And they say, here are the finest wines everywhere. Tell us which one is the most expensive. And time again, they lose. So these people who are trained to tell you what the best wine is can't even tell you what the best wine is because it's subjective. And this is what we're living with, saying, oh, well, if I don't have that, then my life is empty. No, you're just living without wine, which I've been fine for 8 years. I don't miss it. Sometimes I miss the taste of it, but not the effects of it, that's for sure.
Yes, we did a taste test back when I was drinking on wines, and we went from $2 Chuck to a $65 bottle, and it was blind, and this was as to which one people thought was the best, and it was almost overwhelmingly the $12 one won. But that just shows you that it's all about perspective, and it's a difficult thing. I mean, I would have. Back in my day of drinking, I would have, $65 bottle of wine. Now I want that one.
Yep.
But back to the beer and music, I didn't think I'd enjoy music, and I went to a concert, and the particular band I saw is very known for lots of chemicals and things like that people do while they're there. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering if I'd enjoy it. I thought it was incredible. It was awesome. I totally enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
And as far as the beer goes, I'm fine drinking other stuff. I'm totally happy drinking other stuff. The benefits I get for not drinking that beer far outweigh anything that I would perceive as a benefit of drinking beer. So, yeah, it's just there's not even a comparison for me.
Yeah.
I'm able to enjoy life a lot more sober, and it makes a big difference. Good to see you, Jiz.
Absolutely.
Welcome back.
And there is a controversial answer to that. I will say, I waited till 5 years sober, and I had checks and balances when I decided to do this. Because for me, I missed the taste of beer. I can't have Coke anymore because soda messes with me, acid reflux and stuff like that. Tea gets a little old, and I had missed the variety of, here's an IPA, and here's this. And I did like those. And so 5 years sober, they came out with Heineken Zero, which was actually a zero. There's no alcohol in it. Guinness came out with one as well. Budweiser came out with one. And I did start drinking non-alcoholic beers. Now, I will again tell you, it was 5 years after sobriety. I wouldn't have messed with it before. And I told my wife and everyone around me, hey, if I start acting funny, tell me. Because I can't see my own blind spots. And that's what alcohol does, is it gives you blind spots. Now, I will tell you today, I do enjoy non-alcoholic beers. There's quite a few of them. I would not go over, I think they're like point 0.5 or 0.05 or something like that. I wouldn't go over any, I wouldn't dabble in something higher than that because then that gets into alcohol content. But it is something that I do enjoy the taste of. And I was very careful with it. I said, look, I want to make sure, and I talked to people and I said, I want to make sure that I'm not lying to myself and craving an alcoholic beer. And I actually wasn't. I was like, no, I literally just missed the taste. Now, I will tell you there are risky situations with it. One time I went to a concert and it was really quick. We were hurrying in before the main act was on. And at a concert, they have to pour it in a cup for you because apparently cans and bottles are dangerous. I don't know. Mine never did anything to me. But at any rate, they got to pour it in a cup. And I took the cup and I walked away and I was like, oh, shit. Was it 0? And I knew in my head, I was like, yeah, I know it's 0. But I went and asked her, hey, this was 0, right? She's like, yeah, you're good. So there is a risk of that. Like, hey, if you're at a place and you have it in a glass and you get mixed up, you might be drinking it. But I don't. I'm usually at home when I have mine anyway. Or if I'm at a restaurant, they will bring the bottle if you order a 0. If they don't bring the bottle, make sure you ask. And again, don't do it until you're a lot of sobriety under your belt. And if it's not even, like if you don't even care, then don't even bother. Like I know Terry, you don't care. So you're like, whatever, it's not a big deal to me. It's not worth the risk. So you got to look at that. But that is another thing. Rebecca says NA beers have too many carbs. Well, that explains it. I think we got an answer here, right?
There you go.
That's why I have 1 ab instead of 6.
Well, for me, it's just that Marcus and I, we both realize we're chemically dependent. It's not going to go away, although we do have our chemical dependency arrested right now. So we are able to function through life. We don't need a drink, anything like that, and that's important. And for him, he's able to. He was very careful with the non-alcoholic beer, and I don't know that I haven't had even one since I've gotten sober. It just I have no desire for it. So why would I try one? I have no desire for it. And that's just me. Yeah. That's just the way I go because there's other things that I like to drink. So that's what works for me. Brenda, I'm in Eastern Washington. I did not move to Seattle. I'm in Eastern Washington where it's cold and snowy, but it's pretty nice out here. I get to see a moose. In fact, I came face to face with the moose the last week. See one about every month or so, and yeah, they're really big and scary.
Yeah, mooses are pretty cool.
It's pretty beautiful.
All right, so stay sober, everyone. Enjoy your holiday feast. Hopefully it comes out good, but if not, that's okay too. Man of the Universe says he's been sober 3 years. He does have NA beers. He drinks them for the taste, not the effect. Yeah, absolutely.
Right on.
So yeah, you just gotta look at that and. It was a delicate topic. I wanted to make sure I was okay. I had lots of checks and balances with it. And, I would say, I think the last 3 years I've been having NA beers. And thanks to the European countries, we're actually getting a lot of different types. Like I got NA pumpkin beer, which I used to love pumpkin beer when it was holiday time. Now, the one that I got was the only one in stock. The other one was good. This one's maybe not. Do they have NA champagne? Probably. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think they've perfected the taste of wines that are non-alcoholic. It's just
sweet.
Basically grape juice.
Yeah.
You might as well just get some Welch's grape juice.
Or if you want a champagne type thing, have a sparkling water and put a dash of cranberry in it or something like that.
There you go.
Or just sparkling water. Like when I first got sober, when I first got sober, I was soda freak. I loved soda because of the blood sugar deficiency. But then later on, I got into sparkling water, which I still have a lot of sparkling water today. I just find regular water incredibly boring. So
Yeah.
I'm like, it's boring. But also teas, like there's a good tea. I started getting into Jewish tea. They have like a mint sage tea that's really good. Um, so there's lots of options.
Here's one for you guys to get for today that you can do is just get some sparkling water, get a 7 Up, get a little bit of cranberry juice, go about half and half on the 7 Up and sparkling water and a splash of the cranberry. I tell you, you have that. Other people that can drink at your little feast today, they're going to want one of those too because it's really that good. So
Absolutely.
there you go. There's my recommendation.
You want to take Cool Ripe's question? I think that's a great one to end on. He says, I'm just starting my sober journey. I'm nervous with it being December and lots of parties. Any advice?
Well, the first thing I would do, I was not brand new when the holidays hit when I got sober, but I was fairly new. And the most important thing I did, well, a couple things was I had a support system, so I had people that were sober that I could ask questions to. I had, and the main thing for me is I just picked. I'm thinking that maybe you're talking about the Christmas celebrations and things like that, but for me, I did not go to a lot of celebrations. I did back off. I did not go to parties too much. I definitely didn't go to bars. I really limited what I could do. And when I did go, because I did have to go to a couple of those Christmas events, and what I did do is I just slowly, uh, I showed up on time. I left early, like, you have dinner and then dessert, pretty much leave right after that. I only say goodbye to the hosts. That's about it. With the key friends, things like that. But just taking it easy and remembering that the top priority is to stay sober. There's a lot of other little tricks like have your own transportation so you can get out of there. And it's always good to bring another sober friend or somebody that knows you're going to stay sober and have a person you can call, things like that. Those are great things to do.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So thanks for being here. Stay sober. We will see you next week. Check out talksober.com. I think, do you want to do the same Black Friday deal we did last time where they get a free call when they sign up?
Absolutely.
All right. So if you sign up on talksober.com, it's $27 a month. You get all kinds of cool stuff to help you get and stay sober. If you sign up from now till, I don't know, the Friday, I guess, tomorrow, now through tomorrow, we'll give you guys a free private call with Terry and myself. Depending on my schedule, depending on how many we get, I will try to be there. If not, I think Terry can field them if I'm unable to be there, but I will try to be there. You guys are important to me. I don't even have time to do anything lately, but I will try. And that'll be a good thing because usually a call is like $97 on its own. So that's our way of saying thank you. So go to talksober.com, click the big yellow button, fill out the form, just email. It'll go straight to Terry. It's like a little ticket thing. Terry will get that, and he'll schedule a time that'll work. So we'd love to hear from you guys and see you in there. Thanks for being here. Have
Thanks,
a good
everybody.
turkey day, and we'll see you next